What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Breaking Into Tech Sales podcast. We have an awesome guest on today. His name is Brian Stollery, and he's actually an AE who got promoted from an SDR role. He's been in tech sales for 2 years, and he comes from a music background. So if you think you're not going to belong in tech sales because you've never done sales before or something like that, you're dead wrong, and Brian's going to tell you why. By the way, if you've been trying to break into tech sales with no luck, I am here to help. I've been an SDR leader for years, and I've helped over 100 people break into tech sales in as little as 14 days. If you think that I can help you, and if you want to meet and talk about a game plan to help you go land a great job at a great company, there's a link below to meet with our team to see if my one-on-one coaching program is a good fit for you or not. And if you're not in a place where you're ready to move that fast, I also have a free guide showing you step by step how to land a great role in tech sales that you can go implement on your own. That link is going to be below as well. So either way, I'm here to help you change your life so that you can show up better as a human, as a leader in your home, as a provider for your family, and help you change generations that come after you. Enjoy the conversation. We'll see you after. All right. Well, we've got Brian Stollery in the house. Brian, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Really appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Great to be here. Thank you, Jack.
Awesome. So currently an AE over at AlphaSense. You've been there almost 2 years, right? Next month, is that the 2 year mark?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, May will be 2 years.
Wow. Congrats. And you were promoted to AE 9 months ago. So you were an SDR for what then? A year and 2 months or so?
Yep. About a year and change. Something like that.
Wow.
14 months or so.
Awesome. What were you doing before tech sales? What was your career like?
So I came to tech sales from a very unique place that I don't think anyone has ever came to tech sales from. So I spent 15 years in the music and live entertainment industry
Wow.
before making a pivot. So like my journey to tech sales was not linear, it was not typical, it was not easy. I studied film in college. I ran several of my own companies. I produced music festivals. I booked bands. I ran an underground nightclub in Brooklyn. I've had clients like Jack Daniels, Universal Music, ABBA, even the European group. Um, so it was a lot, really wide-ranging career, primarily in music
Wow.
and live entertainment.
Wow. As a hiring manager, I love unique backgrounds because you bring such a different perspective than, like some of the more mainstream channels that we get candidates from. If you don't mind sharing, what were you like averaging from an income perspective in that career?
So it varied, right? And running, when I started off in the music industry, it was 60, probably 60 grand a year, moving up to 80 and, eventually past 100. And then, when I went in the entrepreneurial route, there were, there were years that we did close to half a million. I was running my own company. And
Mhm.
then COVID happened, and then when that happened, live events evaporated, right? So we moved to live streaming, right? And then, I've sold, I sold a sponsorship here for 50 grand. I sold a live stream deal there, going to live stream like a college graduation for another 10 grand here, another 20 grand there. So it kind of added up, but it was really inconsistent, right?
Mm,
So
right.
again, I would say on average, probably did about 80 to 100 a year.
Yeah.
And that's what sort of ultimately led me to just say, I'm getting married. I got married a few years ago. I'm going to start having kids. It's really
Mhm.
time to just get out of the entrepreneur space and go into something really stable.
Some stability. I got you. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that because that perspective is helpful that you were actually making a decent amount of money, right? Like that's some pretty good money right there. But the stability factor is huge and it's enough to make a sidestep, right? So, how did
Right.
you even hear about tech sales in the first place? And why did you want to join?
So I've always been really into technology. My first startup was called Launch. We did like interactive live streaming for concerts and live events. Um, I built live stream architecture for concert venues. I built metaverse venues. I've had a conference in the metaverse. One of my startups was blockchain based. I did a sort of a decentralized, autonomous organization related to live entertainment. So I was really interested in technology. And right around when the FTX thing happened and the writing was kind of on the wall, like, crypto is kind of going away. I just kind of saw the writing on the wall, and at the time I was working in a tech incubator in New York City, where a lot of folks kind of come and we're building projects. Solana actually had their headquarters there for a while, and I was actually playing in a band, and we played a show, and my friend, my bandmate, his friend was at the show, and he actually worked with AlphaSense, and
Hmm.
he was asking me about what I was doing. I said, well, I'm doing this Web3 thing, but I kind of see the writing on the wall. And he said, well, what are your thoughts on AI? And I said, I think AI is really interesting, and I'd love to learn more. And that's what sort of led me. So it really just came from
Wow.
um, I've always been obsessed with technology. I've always thought technology was going to be a really powerful thing,
Mhm.
and so I think it just sort of made sense, to move in that direction.
Yeah, yeah. I really feel like we're in the kind of .com computer boom where right now we have these like AI algorithms that are good, but in 20 years they're going to be looked at like what were we doing back then? We were like fiddling with sticks. And so, yeah, technology is only growing. It's only expanding. And if you don't get in now, you can get in later, don't worry, but it's like we're in the verge of this boom that's about to happen.
I agree, and I think having expertise in emerging technologies, specifically AI, but also the Internet of Things, you know, quantum and AI compute, semiconductors and GPUs, all that, if if you can get really smart and become an expert on emerging technologies, understand how they work, and more importantly, the use cases. A lot of people
Mhm.
talk about AI use cases. Wall Street is, where are the use cases? How are people using it? There's all this capex. Where's the ROI, right? You can
Mhm.
understand how to tether technology expertise to actual use cases and actual productivity that is quantifiable.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to get a job in the future.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 1000%. And something to keep in mind for the listeners out there is someone's got to sell the technology. It doesn't just automatically magically happen. As much as us sales guys would love that, someone's got to get out there and sell it. So for you, it sounds like your entry to tech sales was very network based, relationship based. Did you do a formal job search and you applied to a bunch of companies, or was it Alpha Sense, the one and only, and you just networked your way in?
So I was applying constantly. So the my enthusiasm on running a startup has waned. I was ready to have my life back. I was ready to have weekends back. I was ready to be a good partner to my wife again. Because, like, when you're a solopreneur, that is your life. I
Mhm.
was ready to have my life back, and I knew I wanted to get a job that was stable. So I was actually applying constantly,
Mm.
sometimes 5 to 10 roles a day.
Wow.
And the thing is, a lot of companies, they don't know what to do with someone who, like, has booked Erica Badu, has built a Web3 metaverse venue, right? They're like, well, that's cool, but I don't know. We have this guy over here who's coming from Salesforce. Like, we're going to hire them, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I had to just get really intentional about how I position myself.
Mhm.
And so I just really worked on like reframing my experience around leadership, around
Mm.
business development, and around grit and the
Mm.
grit that it takes to build something from scratch. Because the truth is, if you've ever sold a sponsorship, if you've ever sold lemonade, if you've ever kept a business afloat, if you ever helped raise money for a church, if you've ever handled an angry customer, if you're working in fast food and you've had someone scream at your face and you kept your composure, right? Like I've had a music agent screaming my head off at 2 a.m., right? Like that builds the thick skin where you can be with any communication. So like if you've ever sold anything, if you've ever handled someone yelling at you and remained composed, like you've already got the hustle that it really takes to be great in sales.
Yeah.
Um, and 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 I think doing that work, refining that positioning, applying to so many jobs, I think that's what really helped me kind of get through the interview process fairly rapidly with my current role.
Yeah, grit is a key attribute. You must display grit. And I think a lot of people get imposter syndrome because they're outsiders, right? They're not in tech sales. Tech sales seems like this big, scary thing, right? That they don't even know how to approach. So they come in insecure. They come in kind of looking down upon their own experience, like, oh, it doesn't fit. The reality is as managers, we're looking for someone who's confident, someone who can display grit, and someone who's coachable. And so if you can just own your experience, like you're saying, where it's like, yeah, I'd never been an SDR, but I've handled these situations where XYZ, or hey, I had to go book this venue, and here's the process it took. Here's how I reached out to people. That's what we want to see. So for the people listening out there that you don't have sales experience per se, you have done some sort of grit type work. You've had to be persistent. You've had to remain composed. So don't look down on yourself automatically and just assume that you don't fit. Like try to transfer that experience over. And speaking of AI, I've actually been using Grok and stuff to say like, hey, if I'm a janitor at this company and this is my job, can you help tell my story in a way that fits this position? And AI will help you do that. Like if you're a custodian, a janitor, well, you're responsible for ensuring recurring business by keeping the property clean and ensuring good experience and all of that. So going down a tangent here, but yes, I totally agree, Brian, that it's 100% about mapping that experience, no matter what it is, to the role.
Absolutely.
So your application process does sound more traditional then, in the sense that there was a bunch of applications, right? Ultimately, that network connection helped. Curious, were you just doing easy apply and not hearing back? Were you doing the job to get the job? What was your approach?
A bit of both. I was doing LinkedIn Easy Apply for anything that had the option. A lot of just bulk applies. I basically created like four different resume slash cover letter templates.
Mm,
One was for like business development, leadership, strategy. One was more for, you know, production, music, venue. Another was for more technology, more tech expertise, more tech or, strategy. And basically I would just, depending on the role, I would use whatever template. Again, like I turned my story into four different templates based
yeah.
on where I was applying. Um, but no, I had some interviews where it went pretty far, and ultimately that did not work out. Um, but yeah, it was I was really throwing a lot at the wall,
Mm,
and just I think it started throwing everything at the wall, but then it evolved to really going after companies that had a good product, had a serious growth
yeah.
trajectory.
Yeah.
So it was a lot for sure.
Yeah. As someone who helps people get into tech sales full time, I can tell you that easy apply on LinkedIn does not work anymore. Like it kind of during the COVID bubble, there's so much money, so many people were growing teams. It kind of worked, but it does not work anymore. So to your point, Brian, once you can start getting more tailored and focused on what you're actually looking for, then you're able to slow down a little bit and figure out, okay, how do I actually get in front of people? So what tactical advice would you give someone who's trying to get into tech sales right now?
The advice I would give is embrace your edge. embrace what you and only you can do uniquely. If you don't have SDR experience, show that you have sales experience, whether that's pitching a client, raising money, organizing an event, or just getting someone to believe in your idea. If you've done that, you're already selling. Other tactical advice: speak the language, understand what is pipeline, what is discovery, what is ICP, what is objection handling, understand how those are going to show up at the job. Go into an interview like a pitch, like come in like you already worked there, break down why the company you're applying to stands out from the crowd, break down exactly how you're going to talk to customers, how you're going to show the differentiation. I would say network relentlessly. Reach out to other SDRs, go to events like where I live in New York. There are so many technology networking events. You could go to 2 a day if you really wanted and you looked out there. Look up the industries you're going into. Understand. If you're pitching an AI company, what you want to talk about. If you're pitching a healthcare company, understand. Robotic surgery, medical devices. If you're pitching an energy company, understand about green energy and everything going on there. Really practice the story. And I think biggest piece of advice: master AI tools for productivity. Like use ChatGPT to refine your messaging, use Perplexity to research companies and learn about them, use Claude to simulate interviews, get neutral feedback. I think being AI literate is probably the best thing you could do tactically to instantly illustrate an edge that any company would be gaining by hiring you.
So good. You just hit like 7 gold nuggets right there. I remember when I was getting into tech sales in 2020, we didn't have AI yet, and so my mock interviews were with my stepdad at the time,
Yeah,
and the reality is, like, we don't have to do that anymore. Like, we can
no,
talk to a Claude, right? You can go through those exercises. 2 other things that stood out that I think people are scared of is, 1, reaching out to SDRs at other companies. Like, hit them up, y'all, because 6 months ago, they were you. They weren't in that role. They were just like you, really wanting to get in. They didn't know anyone, but they somehow made their way in. Reach out to them. Try to connect with them. They're going to be busy, but still, like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So if you just, hey, I'm working my way into this company. I've got an interview coming up. Would love to just connect for like 2 minutes. See if you can get on the phone with someone. That's huge. Now, the other part that I love that you said is embrace your edge. That is so true because you have to think about this from the interviewer's perspective. They're in all day interviews, back to back to back to back, with probably 5, 6, 7 candidates a day for a week or two till they fill their role. You have to be different. You have to come in with a new perspective. You have to be someone that just sticks in their head. Like, wow, that Brian guy, that was really cool. He told me about how he booked ABBA or whatever it is, right?
yeah,
That's different. That's unique. Don't blend in. Stand out. This is sales. You've got to stand out.
100%.
So, last question I've got for you. You've been in tech sales for coming up on 2 years. You did the transition from SDR to AE. So, congrats to you, man. That's huge.
Thank you.
Um, was it worth it? Right? Because there's a lot of people who look in from the outside, look into tech sales and say, like, like it looks cool, but there's also layoffs. And I've heard these tech companies can be bad and whatever. Was it worth it? What would you say are the pros and cons of tech sales?
Well, it was absolutely worth it. Absolutely, because there are layoffs, but there are also companies that are hyperscaling and hiring out the wazoo. AlphaSense is one of them.
Mm.
There are companies that are streamlining and they're getting rid of a team of analysts and hiring one analyst who's really good at AI and can do the work of 10 analysts, right? So I think if you have the skills and like you embrace your edge, like you said, you are arming yourself with the ability to navigate it. I think to your point, don't go into tech sales unless you're really committed and you're ready to make that jump and ready to give it your all, because those that aren't are often those ones who do end up, facing the layoffs. And, was it worth it for me? I mean, when I was running a nightclub in Brooklyn, I worked all weekend. I got home at 4 a.m. It's not great for mental health. Like when I was running a startup, I was managing a team of people, and like I had to get everyone paid. I had to make our vendors happy. I was the legal team, I was the marketing team, I was everyone. That was my life, and like was it worth it? I have my life back now. I can be a good partner to my wife. I can be a good father to my daughter, right? And being in tech sales, it gives me the stability to earn a living, be part of a stable, growth-minded company. It helps me educate, share insights with my customers and my prospects, and I learn from them. I've learned so much in this role as well. And I think if you're listening this just and you're trying to break in, just remember like you're qualified if you say you are, and if,
Mhm.
if your past doesn't disqualify you, it really differentiates you. And embrace your story, lead with grit, show up with curiosity, show up and really be coachable. But no, to answer your question, Jack, it's been totally worth it, and I almost wish I'd done it sooner.
Dude, I'm like getting emotional. I'm so fired up. What you just said at the end there, that made me emotional. I'm like, wow. Wow, wow, wow. First
Let's
of all,
go.
I'm proud of you.
Let's go.
For showing up as a leader in the home, and this has enabled you, this is a vehicle that's enabled you to do that. But then also what you're saying about like your past does not hold you back, it's actually what qualifies you, it's what makes you unique, right? And so I think that is probably the most encouraging word you could give to this audience. And Brian, I really appreciate your time and your wisdom, and thank you for being such a great role model for all of us as you continue to grow in your tech sales career.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Jack. And the last thing I'll say, we're hiring at AlphaSense. So if this resonates with anyone who watched this, you want to learn more about what we do, like feel free to shoot me a message on LinkedIn. And appreciate everything that you're doing, Jack. Thank you for showing up and supporting everyone out there who's really looking to move into this exciting field. And keep hustling. I'll see y'all
Let's
out there
go.
at Let's Rock and Roll.
Love it. Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jack. See you, man.